A good day, everybody. You've tuned into Pacific Ocean Tsunami. I go through the news feeds on social media. I look at Facebook and I look at YouTube, of course, and I want to bring up some thought-provoking discussion. I haven't dated anybody in 4 years. And before anybody thinks it's because I've made a conscientious choice not to date, that's not the case. I haven't dated anybody because nobody's coming along. Wait a minute. Let me rephrase that. There have been women come along, mostly obese, mostly women that got kids that are out of control, women that got all those things that I could not live with. Just being honest. And people will tell me you're too picky. I'm like, because I'm not interested in somebody who's 300 pounds and's got 4 inches of pit hair. Really? And I started doing some reflecting. You look at a woman like Rachel Maddow. Now, sorry, I'm just going to say it. She is not pretty. She is not sexy. This is not just my opinion, okay? She reminds me, when I look at her, of many aspects of somebody I was married 2 years ago. Kind of scary. And I've addressed the homosexual discussion. I've talked about that. People have asked me, am I gay? And I said, no, I'm into women. Are there some bi tendencies in me? Yeah, definitely. Have I embraced the gay lifestyle? No. Have I been attracted to certain men? Yes. What I'm attracted to more than anything is when somebody cares, when somebody gives that right touch. And we live in an American society, and Western culture is becoming more and more like this. We're over-sexualized. We're the biggest producers of pornography. And women dress provocatively. Slut tease is the word I use. And if you notice these women, they are going to shun you, ignore you, and call you perv when they're trolling out there and setting themselves out there as a slut tease. That decent, good-looking guys, hardworking guys, they're not going to get a date with most women today unless they're a huge, ATM walking. And I look at people like Rachel Maddow. I look at the lion's share of women today. There is no such thing as a lady in this culture. If there's a lady in this culture, good women are taken. At my age, good women are taken. The younger generation of women is to be avoided at all costs. The millennials on down. Now, I'm not saying every single one of them. Some of them have their heads in the right place, but the millennial generation on down does not look at the world the way I, Gen X, and other people, myself or older, do. Their work ethic is different. Oh, I'm just not going to come in today. I'm going to come in 2 days out of the week and then complain that my paycheck is small. It's like, wow, and you still have a job? Employers are kowtowing to this. But I want to ask a question. Does the American woman scene contribute to the rise in men experimenting and gay things? Absolutely. You hear women freely blame men for why they've embraced lesbian. They've had a uncle that molested them or an abusive man. One man against the avalanche of women that abuse us men every day. It doesn't matter if you go into a store, a public library, like in Jefferson County, Colorado, where a woman just showed hatred and rudeness to me years and years ago when I used to bring my kid into story time. And you've got women that are born and bred with hatred towards us, especially white males. It's happening. You see lesbianism soaring off the charts. And when you're honest like me and you say things, there are people that attack the hell out of you. There's been no safe place for people like myself to go. You can't do it in the church. You can't do it out there because people will criticize you. They imply that you're into anal sex or that you're into this, and it's like, no, I'm not. What I find in our culture is a cold indifference that Americans have more love for their stupid car, their SUV. Women have more love for a damn dog. Now, unpack that for a minute. People love their Netflix. They love their debt-ridden lifestyles. American women are passionless. Look at Target. Look at Christopher and Banks. Look at Kohl's. They're not exactly the finest in women's clothing. Blasé, boring. Let's buy a bag of rice cakes that has no salt or cheese or any flavoring on it. And that's what you get. You get around these stuck-up, snively, rude, immature Western white women today, and it is a cock block. It is a real, genuine cock block. And I have been honest. It's easier for me, if I was to pursue that, it would be easier for me to get a date with a man than it is with a woman. I don't want to date a man. Men cannot give me what a woman can. But I've been bold and honest and said that there are times I have experimented in the past around the edges of things. And I found that when you go through life and you're shunned and ignored and rejected, and as many of you know, I had lived in Asia. When I was in Asia, many women found me handsome. Many women were passionate. They were sweet. You come back here, and it's a ghost town. And I've talked about the Philippine culture. Something's shifting in the world, and the internet is causing rapid change. Women are realizing on a global level that they're a desired commodity, especially Southeast Asia. You have groups like Blackpink, Momoland, and others rising to the charts. Attitude girls. Young, attitude, pretty girls, now dyeing their hair, trying to look more American and Western than the sweet Asian that they are. I have been attacked by people who had a sexual attraction towards me on social media, but because I didn't show any interest back to them, like a woman who's been a lover scorned, so do gay men or men with bisexual tendencies that are lusting after me have acted irrational and ridiculous. There was a guy years ago that even made a video to that effect, commenting out on a online stalker and troller, calling him out for what he was. And I'm getting paged. I don't have a problem if men have an attraction towards me. Now, this has been a progression for me because years ago, I remember riding a city bus in a city, and I heard two guys behind me saying, "Oh, I love his red hair." And I want to turn around and say, "Eh." The whole femi voice thing. Two guys that I would never have been attracted to are hitting, making comments, and I just ignored them. Now, how many thousands of miles later and how many years and age later, I've had men come up and said, "Man, you're really good looking." And they shake my hand. I said, "Thank you. I appreciate that." And then you really get in trouble when you're a Christian in today's very aggressive Americans that are anti-God, pro-atheists, pro-evolutionists. They love to say, "Oh, you call yourself a Christian and you have this, this, this." I don't call myself a Christian. I am a Christian because of a decision I made for Jesus. And there's a stereotype out there that Christians, when they become a Christian, are supposed to be perfect. I wish that were true. There are some Christians that are some of the worst people I've ever met. There's some conservative Republicans that are the biggest a-holes on the planet. Years ago, I've dated Democrat women and had a good time on dates. Now today, it's shifted. And the truth is, though, the people that are the nicest to me on a face-to-face basis are Democrat black women. So if you want to get into demographics, not everything fits in a nice, neat little box. I voted for Donald Trump, but I'm seeing in Trump some problems. I'm seeing where he doesn't change to be more, should I say, tactful. If DeSantis runs for president, I'm going to vote for him because he's a man of action. When you say that you have some bisexual tendencies, and what I mean by that is I have had experiences in my life where you're not getting a date. You're not. I've had a back massage by men, and they did a better job than most women would ever do. You're going to pay for it in the United States. I've had men that had designs on me and offered a free back rub, and I took it because I needed the physical touch. People think, oh my gosh, Pacific. I've not been attracted to some of the men that gave me a back rub. I looked at it this way. They're getting their fill of looking at me. They get to put their hands on me. I'm getting a free back rub. I'm going to take it. The power of touch is grossly underestimated in this day and age. And for people who want to attack that, who want to attack this kind of honesty, that means you have a problem within yourself. I don't expect everybody to agree with me. I don't believe that the Bible says that it's okay to practice certain behaviors. But does that mean that we don't struggle? Does that mean we don't still have desires of things that God clearly forbids? Of course we do. Look at men in lust. Jesus says in the Bible that if a man looks at a woman with lust in his eyes, he's already committed adultery. Well, guess what? That knocks out pretty much every man out there. I mean, that alone condemns every man to hell. You look at women like Rachel Maddow, you look at women like women on The View, that none of them are pretty. I don't care what anybody says. None of those women on The View, Whoopi Goldberg, all those loaded with makeup, pancaked to the hilt. They're obese. They're not attractive. Their clothing styles are gacky. And they're sitting there judging people like me, judging people that are conservatives. The View is an erroneous, presumptuous, arrogant megalomania. The View, it should be a view. It is women that have no understanding of something called truth. And one of the things that attracted people to me on videos years and years ago is my blatant homespun honesty, no script, looking at you, making myself vulnerable. And you are vulnerable today just for being honest. Isn't that sad? In the United States, you are vulnerable for being honest and telling the truth. Our society encourages you to be false, encourages you to be plastic, encourages you to lie. I've had to learn over the years that, are you going to kowtow, or are you going to stand boldly for what you believe? Because there's people out here listening and that will listen, that whether they say it or not, inside they go, my gosh, finally I met somebody who's got the same problem I do. I don't care if a man thinks I'm attractive. I consider that a compliment. Why? Because I'm human. I remember I went to shoot pool one night. Guy was with his girlfriend. She was a very hot-looking white girl. She was a little off, but she was beautiful. And I came in, shirt off the shoulder, had my big ring necklace on. My hair was long all the way around. And he comes up, he goes, I'm not gay, but you are like one of the most beautiful men. I said, thank you. Shook his hand. We played pool. And the guy was acting like he was in heat. My friends from work were with me going, what is going on? I said, I think he has a crush on me. Played pool. I finally turned around and I said, dude, Go over there and put your arms around that woman. You're acting like you're in heat. And I looked at her, I said, is he gay? She goes, I'm starting to wonder. And he walks over to me and I said, do you want to touch my shoulder? He goes, yes, I do. I said, do it. Get it out of your system. And he goes like this. He goes, oh my gosh. I said, do you feel better now? I said, dude, I'm not going out with you. Now, I don't have a problem that you're attracted, but you know what's sad though? Our society, our church culture society, and it's funny, as open-minded as the Democrats claim to be, men are not safe, to be totally honest about this. Because you got heaping rounds of condemnation by this group, this group, this group. Christian or non-Christian. I'm going to tell you something. You can fool everybody around you, but you can't fool God. You know the struggles you have. And it's sad that we live in a society that doesn't encourage that transparency. People automatically assume because I say stuff like this that I'm a raging homosexual. I'm not. I've looked at the homosexual lifestyle. Having anal sex with another man, what a turnoff. The idea of a guy doing anal with me, what a turnoff. Gross, disgusting, very good chance for disease. I don't want somebody's cock up my butt. But when I've had a man touch or give me a massage and compliment, that's powerful. Because guess what? Women aren't doing it in this culture. American women are not coming up and saying, my gosh, you look good. Even on social media, women compliment me more from Africa, from Thailand, from the Philippines. Beautiful African women. Beautiful. Different than the African-American counterparts here in the U.S. Not one and the same. African women in Africa know two or three languages, bi and trilingual. They work. They're gracious. They dress cute. They're sexy. They're pretty. Extremely polite. I would have never known this except for the media. A few years ago, a phenomenon happened. I started getting friend requests from Africa and Thailand. I remember looking at Thailand back in the early, 2008, 2000. You couldn't find anybody in Thailand in the social media, the Yahoo chat rooms. They weren't there. Then all of a sudden, they got turned on to the thing, and now they're aggressively looking for Western men. And African women in Kenya, Zambia, Nigeria, and other countries in Africa are suddenly wanting a Western guy. And you have to be careful. There's gold diggers everywhere. But some of them have told me, we don't want to marry them in here. They want to lay around and do nothing. I said, oh, that sounds like America. On my Facebook, I've encouraged people to be honest. Men thumbs up my pictures. Some of them even put a heart. People are safe on my page to be who they are. There is no discussion back and forth that, ooh, Mike, you're hot. There's none of that. And I've said, God is the only one that can change a heart. And I sat under a preacher years ago in a Colorado church that said, oh, just fake it until you make it. He said this to the congregation. I thought, is that what the Bible teaches? You look at American business. Hi, how you doing today? All you think of when you hear that voice is ka-ching, cash register. They don't care about you. They want to make a sale. A bartender friend of mine who's drop dead gorgeous, covered in tattoos, beautiful black hair, white woman. She said to me, my job is like legal prostitution, except I don't prostitute. She goes, as a bartender, I'm very nice and warm to the men, making them think that I'm going to go home with them so that I can get tips. She told me that. She goes, I used to waitress, and waitressing is the same way. That's why they say, hi, hon. You want anything else, hon? You want some Tabasco sauce for your eggs, hon? I love diners. You get called honey, sweetie, and dear. But it's sad. It's motivated by ka-ching. You're not going to change people and the way they feel about a sexual issue by condemning and judging and hating. You're going to change a person by being yourself, having your boundaries, and letting God do his work. And even me, I was a Christian since the 80s. And I find that it doesn't matter how much I know about God and his word, that certain things don't just drop off and go away like fall leaves dropping from a tree. Some things we will battle our whole lives. There's a young man that's a Catholic who talks about he cannot practice his homosexual desires. He's on YouTube. He actually has some good food for thought. I don't spend a lot of time listening to him because that's not really the kind of stuff I listen to. But look at women like Nancy Pelosi, Rachel Maddow, Dianne Feinstein, Hillary Clinton, Maxine Waters, Ilhan Omar, AOC. AOC is a good looking woman. I'm sure there are people that just, AOC is a beautiful woman. She has that long black hair that I like. She's well endowed in the chest. But this, she's afraid of garbage disposal, wants to ram her extreme, insane, radical agenda on Americans, not caring that it affects people in a negative and adverse way. That's not a woman with any heart or common sense. AOC made a couple statements that stand out to me. Anybody who voted for Trump, there should be a list made and they should be denied employment. Oh, punish people for participating in the democratic process. Where are you from? Puerto Rico? Maybe you should go back there, honey, because this is America. The other thing that she has shown is she's afraid of a garbage disposal. She makes $175,000 a year as a politician. She was a bartender. Can you imagine being married to these chicks? Candace Owens went and got a British guy overseas and married him. I used to think Candace Owens was a good-looking woman. Candace Owens makes some good points. I'm not here to attack her. But guess what? I don't care if they're a conservative woman. I don't care if they're a Christian woman. Folks, men and women are different. Candace Owens and I would not get along on a relational level, marital-wise. Candace Owens is worth $1 million. And I said this the other day about a YouTube persona. Women that got good looks are making big money. You're a guy like me who tells the raw, rough cut lumber truth. You're not going to get paid for that. People would rather pay for smoke and mirrors. They'd rather pay for gloss. Remember looking at your first Playboy and Penthouse? They were glossy, slick magazines. You ever tried to burn those things? They really produce a lot of smoke because there's just so much. It's not like paper. And a lot of those women have so much Bondo and caked on pancake makeup to hide imperfections. And I find as I get older that men keep their cars and trucks and homes cleaner than a lot of women. I did a video years ago, Western women are destroying themselves. It's still going on. Nothing's changed. I could not date a man. There's times I've had a strain of something go through me where I felt that lust, that curiosity, that need for longing, acceptance, and touch. I haven't exercised this in years. A lot of it's been mental. The truth is, when I get out there in the public, And I see people, whether it's at shooting pool or at the nightclub, and they'll come up, hey, and I have friends that are of all persuasions, and I like people. I have a friend who's Puerto Rican. She's married to a black woman. I get along well with her, and I've had to learn over the years, look at who's attracted to you on a friendship level or a relational level. What is this? Folks, honesty is not the best policy. It is the only policy. If you want to avoid wasting time and dating wrong people, be honest about who you are from the start. Don't do the American dating MO and put your best foot forward and wear the right clothes and have the right cologne and show up in the right car. Be who you are, that rough cut. And most of the girls are going, no. They don't like honesty. There are women that like honesty, but they're going to come out of the strangest places. They ain't going to come off of Victoria's Secret, okay? There have been people that have accused me on social media of being gay. I'm not. When I think of gay, I think of hardcore guys laying in bed day in, day out, married, dating a man, really into all that. I would not want a man living in my house, even as a roommate. I'm not comfortable with that. Are there times when I felt the need to bond to somebody who was a good looking male? Yeah. Have I had that opportunity? No. I grew up with a father that I did not have the greatest relationship with. He was passive. Mom wore the pants in the family. And I've had to go through my own journey of trial by error. Excuse me, learning by hard knocks. There are men that have privately come to me and said, yes, I'm attracted to men. So what? Beating yourself up, condemning yourself doesn't make the problem go away. And same with women that said they're attracted to women. Beating yourself up, condemning yourself doesn't make the problem go away. You cannot change the desires that are within you. And I don't care what church you go to, with some pastor belting it out. Oh, homosexuality is wrong. Yeah, it is wrong, preacher. But so is women obsessing over dogs. But do churches ever talk about that? Do pastors who are 350 pounds talk about gluttony? Do they talk about the rampant white middle class churchianity that's obsessed with materialism? And I'm going to be condemning about something. The obsession by Christian women to buy tinsel, bric-a-brac Christmas crap and justify it as Jesus is the reason for the season. And I have had healthy rounds or unhealthy rounds of condemnation by Christian women for talking the way I talk. Oh, he calls himself a Christian, but he's admitted that he's had some gay desires. Yeah, when I get around women like you, who would desire you? You're a liability. You're damage to one's wallet and income. And when you wake up in the morning and I take a look at that, I just go, oh my gosh. Being alone has its benefits. I was doing projects this last week, remodeling, playing music, and just enjoying the fact that I can create and be who I am without somebody saying, can you turn that down? Can you stop this? Can you change for me? No, I'm not going to change for you. Marriage is pushed and shoved 50% of all marriages in the US end up in the garbage can. And now there's a Christian up there saying, well, that's not true. That's only applies to non-Christian marriages. No, it doesn't. I have been through the spin and wash cycle of Christians who judge me for being divorced. The underlying message is God's done with me. I'm washed up, beached whale. Really? Is that what he says? No. Christians are what I call group mentality, herds. They follow a lot of cultural nuances. Watch this time of the year. Christmas, Merry Christmas. Jesus is the reason. Jesus is not the reason for Christ Mass, a pagan holiday. Let me make that very clear. You group hugged it. This is driven by mostly emotionally driven logical women, Christians included. They like their comfort zone. They like their snow globe. I'm not going to track snow globe white Christian women. They're not going to be interested in me. Look at the obsession with dogs, commercials on dogs and dog food. And now dogs are called children and my babies and my fur babies. You want to date women like that? A dog jumping up on you in your bed, fur everywhere, the dog smell in your house. Nah, I'll pass. There's a black woman in Canada that dated a white guy years ago, and she said, that dog has to go. And he loved that dog, but he said, you know what? I love you more, and I will do what it takes. Wow, a man willing to give up his dog for a woman, but listen to American women. He must accept my dog or it's over. To that, you simply need to respond and say, then why are you dating anybody at all? I'm not going to digress and talk about that there's a stunning, staggering stuff out there. If you look around, women are actually having sex with their dogs and putting peanut butter on their coochie and having the dog lick it off. There's some weird stuff going on. We've descended into a level of disgust that knows no bound as a country. Some of the best Bible preaching churches I know out there fail to deal with the human factor. They fail to deal with the fact that no matter how holy and self-righteous you want to make yourselves out to be, we need touch. And when we don't get it, when we can't get what we want, and you listen to Christians, well-meaning, but sincerely wrong. Oh, God will bring the right one. You just got to wait on the Lord. I tell that to my friends that are 50 years old. Scattered all across the nation. Working men that are in shape, men that take care of themselves, men that got homes, jobs, whatever. Keep waiting, keep waiting, keep waiting. It's a lie. The church, the male preachers in churches refuse to do any kind of sermons dealing with the attitudes, the entitlement and snobbery and stuck up materialistic dog OCD culture of women. They will not touch it. Why? Preacher wants job security, wants those tithes to come in. I love their little braggarts on their church ads. We declare the whole counsel of God. Do you? Do you convict the women in your congregation? If you're not convicting them, go get a job. They condemn men for lust, masturbation, and porn. They don't ask why men are there all the time. They just condemn it. They don't bother to look at what women do. Women and even pastors will play into this. When a man abuses a woman, it affects her in so many ways. Yeah, when women abuse men, it affects us in so many ways. It's okay if a woman gets so hurt and miffed by her one boyfriend she had. Now I'm going to go full lesbian. How many guys have ever said, oh, I had a bad experience with a woman, I'm going to become swinging gay? You didn't hear that, did you? But guess what? Because of the cock block going on in society by Western women, men are left with a sex drive. And if you go to church, well, you're supposed to be self-controlled. The fruit of the Spirit is self-control. Okay, you materialistic narcissistic that's putting your dog as a creature above the Creator. When your dog has more value than a man, if you don't accept my dog, get away from me. Are you really following biblical protocol? It's funny how people pick and choose what they're going to condemn or come down so hard on while they ignore their own sins. Idolatry is just as bad as sexual immorality. But you'd go to the church as a casual observer and get the feeling that men who lust or look at porn, that they're just terrible, wicked people. Oh my gosh, did you ever read about Solomon? 700 wives and 300 concubines. Hello? Can you hear me now? God told Hosea to marry a prostitute. Woman caught in adultery was to be stoned. God's telling her to marry a prostitute. And she was unfaithful, and God told him to go get her back. God was trying to show Hosea something, and not everything fits in a nice, neat little box with God. And people say, oh, see, there's contradictions in the word. There's contradictions, but no. God has his law, but God also has grace. God doesn't change. But puny man can't understand him, so they got to say things like, oh, he contradicts himself. That means the Bible is a bunch of BS. Sorry, that's not the way that works. God is holy. We are not. Bottom line, we're sinners. Christ died for us. You put your faith in him, you got salvation. You want to reject him, you don't got no salvation. You go to hell. But people wrongly believe that if you're a Christian, you're supposed to live this perfect exemplary life, and churches bang and harp on that. You need to be an example. You need to make the gospel attractive. Go to most American churches today and tell me how uptight middle-aged women with their homes and their Pier 1 imports loaded homes and their marriages that are boring and their lives that are boring and their fashion is boring, and they're going to tell you that you're not quite as godly as them. Why would you want to follow that? And the church has little impact in this culture because all they care about is their snow globe stuff. Oh, Christmas. All that feel-goodism. They're not getting their hands dirty and getting down here with people like me and people even worse than myself that really need the grace of God. And they want to stand around trifling over lust and this and that. Hey, women, newsflash, you've driven men to really have a problem with this. You are part and parcel to this. Just as much as you being abused by men can make you say, forget men, same thing. But social media has not been very comfortable for people to want to believe lies, because there's people on it telling the truth too. Only God can change a heart. The Bible never tells us to fake it until you make it. It tells us to pour our heart to God and be honest with him. And we need to be honest with ourselves first and others around us. People do not want to come to a false gospel where we got to play hide and seek and pretend we're something that we're not. The Bible says you shall know the truth and the truth shall make you free. I'd rather admit that as a Christian, I can defend that Bible, but I also have my own titanic struggles with things. If people want to point, laugh, and mock and condemn that, and it makes them feel good about their existence out there, all right, then. When I look at Rachel Maddow, This woman earns more money than I do. She is a hideous woman to look at. And I'm going to say that because women like her are very, very judgmental about us. And all we need to do, boys, is flip the script. Can you imagine going to bed with that? Ick. I've got a lot more to say about this, but that's at another time. This is Pacific signing off.